Gerard?
I say it all three ways.
We'll
look it up.
We'll cut the right one. Yeah.
Mitch Gerads.
Yeah,
Mitch Gerads.
that feels right.
Gerads. Hey there. Definitely cut that out.
Welcome back to Midtown Comics TV. I'm Kristen here, and I've brought with me some friends here. I've got Mario and Kareem to help walk us through all the best books of the year. As you know, it's almost the holiday season, so happy holidays to all you out there. And keep in mind, the year is ending soon, so say goodbye to 2019 and hello to 2020. But we're not quite ready to say goodbye to all the great stuff that happened in 2019. So we're going to bring you our top picks of our top 3 Marvel books that came out this year, top 3 DC books that came out this year, and I'll walk you through my top 3 picks for indies this year. So I'm going to pass it along to Mario first, and he's going to walk you through some Marvel books.
So my first pick for favorite Marvel book of the year is Immortal Hulk. This is a wonderful storyline that comes from Al Ewing and a whole bunch of different artists over at Marvel. And my favorite thing about this book is that it brings the Hulk back to his horror roots. Because again, you can't just stop the Hulk. Death does not stop the Hulk. He's immortal, as it says in the title. In this particular book right here, Hulk ends up going to hell. And if you think that the Hulk is just going to allow hell to overrun him and tell him what to do, it is not going to happen. Again, here's some of those horror shots that I think are very great in all of these books. And if you want one specific shot of the Hulk in hell, there he is. All right, this my favorite line in this book is, okay, Hulk kill everything.
Makes sense.
You can quote him on that one.
You can quote the Hulk on that. My second pick for a great book read this year from Marvel is Venom. Pretty much anything Venom or symbiote related. Don't look down here yet because that's close too. But anything Venom is great. I love Venom as a character. I love when he's done perfectly, and Donny Cates does a great job of writing for symbiotes. Let's say that much. This is a great book that combines a bunch of different Venom tales from this year. But my pick out of this trade itself is Venom. And what that is the Venom symbiote running around Vietnam. And he doesn't just come up across some U.S. soldiers. No, he comes up the badass U.S. soldiers in Vietnam history in the Marvel Universe, which are the inimitable Nick Fury and Logan himself, Mr. Wolverine. Of course, 2 Nam-era heroes fighting the symbiote in the jungles of Vietnam. And my final pick for a great read this year from Marvel is Absolute Carnage. Again, I said I've been a Venom fan pretty much my whole life. One of my favorite storylines from the 90s, and a storyline that I've hunted down every book from, that I only finished that hunt this year, is Maximum Carnage. So this is not related to that story in any way, but it's got the title, Absolute Carnage. This is a culmination of everything Donny Cates has written about all symbiotes, where the god of the symbiotes, Null, has chosen Carnage as his ultimate disciple, and everybody else is suffering because of it. There's some great storylines, some great dialogue, and some great art in here.
And great team-ups.
Great team-ups as well. Here's a nice little shot of Eddie Brock and his perennial life mate, Peter Parker, discussing what their plans are going to be in this war of symbiotes. So I really enjoyed this. And we also had Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman come in and sign issue number 1 a few months ago, and that was quite the time. If you were there, you know why, and if you weren't there, I'm sorry you missed out.
Yeah.
So those are my picks for Marvel of this year. Do you guys have any ideas for picks?
I think Immortal Hulk would have been my pick. Really love Immortal Hulk. Check it out. Red Harpy. I mean, who doesn't want to see a, badass female Hulk?
Yeah, it's true. I really like Absolute Carnage. I think Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman are doing awesome with the mythology and kind of like the symbiote stuff. It's really classic Spider-Man stuff, so I really like that. And the horror aspect, too.
Off to you.
All right. So I have DC. My first pick is Batman, Curse of the White Knight. This is a Black Label book written and drawn by Sean Murphy. And this is actually a sequel to Batman White Knight. Last year, I believe, where the Joker is the sane one, Jack Napier, and he's like a politician, and Batman is the one in Arkham, he's the crazy one. So it's a really like a flip kind of mature story. Pretty much like a standard Gotham story, but a flip. So if you like Batman and the Joker, this is a great modern retelling of that story. So of course, my second pick is Mr. Miracle, the Eisner Award-winning book from the legendary Tom King and Mitch Gerads. This is a deconstructionist kind of superhero story, as Tom King tends to be. You know, his main source of inspiration is Alan Moore, so a la Watchmen and stuff like that. So he honors Jack Kirby's kind of world-building abilities with these characters. The New Gods, Darkseid. I mean, look at just the colors of this.
That's beautiful.
It's just gorgeous. I mean, you got Darkseid eating salad. So
He's watching his weight.
yeah, so just pick this up. My last, of course, is the Deceased book, written by Tom Taylor with a bunch of amazing artists. We actually have Inyuk Lee do the variant edition for the Midtown exclusive, and Inyuk Lee shared his amazing art with us. So this is like kind of a zombified version of the DC superheroes. It's sort of a technovirus apocalyptic story. If you like The Walking Dead, if you like Zombieland, Dawn of the Dead, all that stuff, you know, this is a great horror book. It's great to mix the horror and holidays, I always say. And look at these covers. I mean, Inyuk has done a great job for Midtown, and what a guy. You know, so this is a lot of fun. And it's cool to see the world's finest, you know, deal with this kind of level of a threat.
Let me think about
DC?
your favorite DC
I mean,
title of the year.
Aside from Doomsday Clock, I liked Batman Damned wrapping up.
Yeah, that was
you know,
really
that
good.
was. I know it started last year, but it ended this year. I like the end of that, and I really like all the DC Black Label stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. I think it's come a long way from, you know, just showing Batman's bat pendage. But
Say that. The Batarang.
there's a bunch of titles out now. It's not just that. You
Yeah.
know, it's expanded past that. So I enjoy the Black Label stuff.
I'm gonna have to go with Heroes in Crisis. I'm gonna give that a shout out. Great title. I know it was very divisive as far as how it ended, and some people really loved it, some people really hated it. I really loved it, and superhero therapy. I mean, the panels of some of the superheroes, like in their therapy sessions, like divulging these like deep philosophical thoughts about their characters, just made my life this year. So that was mine. All right, so off to indies. So this is really special because I really loved these 3 picks this year. So I'm going to start it off with Blackbird. This is from Sam Humphries, art by Jen Bartel. If you don't love Jen Bartel's art, there's something wrong with you. It is absolutely stunning on the inside. The story follows a girl named Nina who is obsessed with magic, and her whole life everybody tells her that magic is not real and she's crazy, until one day she finds out that that's all a lie, and she's really connected to this magical world. And so it's her, you know, it's sort of an Alice in Wonderland type story of her finding this entire magical world and society that exists without her, and the whole time she just wanted to be a part of it. So she's got a lot of feelings about that. Great book, beautiful art. Definitely want to pick this one up. All right, my second pick is Man-Eaters. If you've seen me in the last year, I've probably been pitching this book to you and how much I love it. It is an amazing young adult inspired book. It talks about puberty, right? How weird. You wouldn't think that puberty would make for an interesting graphic novel, but it does. So the idea in this book is that sometimes when young girls hit puberty, something weird happens to them. They get emotions, they get difficult, they rebel against their parents, and they turn into giant cat monsters that eat other people. Completely normal. So it's about society and how society, you know, treats women differently, pre-puberty, versus post-puberty. It's a fun, feminist novel, lighthearted, definitely a lot of great laughs in here. And my favorite thing, I was showing them earlier, is that the whole book, all of the ads are fake ads. So they're ads that exist in this really fun world.
I love that.
I love that too.
that
I love when they
concept.
take that extra time to...
It's world building without exposition. You
Yeah,
know?
this one's my favorite. But yes, Man-Eaters, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. And my last one, Die. I mean, come
that a
on.
command?
Yeah, Die. So this is Kieran Gillen, art by Stephanie Hans. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. It's basically D&D Jumanji. So a bunch of friends play a role-playing game, and they get sucked into it. And they come out on the other side, and one of their friends isn't with them, and one of their friends has lost a limb. So years later, when they're adults, they're all married, they've gone on with their lives, they meet back up and they start to talk about what happened to them as kids when they got sucked into this board game. And of course, they get sucked in again. Lots of adventure in here. If you're a big fantasy fan, this is a must pick up, especially if you're a big D&D fan. The fantasy aspect is amazing. It really throws you into the story. And yeah, look at that art. So fantastical. So this is definitely one to pick up. You don't want to miss out on it.
I like the idea of that. That hits on, a bunch of ideas that I like. It hits Jumanji, it hits
Yeah.
all that stuff. That's great. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's cool. Like, makes you think of, like, I wish that was my childhood. Like, I wish I got sucked into a Dungeons and Dragons
I wish
game.
I got
to
sucked
be honest.
into a game and lost a limb.
Yeah, I would lose a limb. I would lose a limb for that. So, how about you guys? Any indie book that really caught your eye this
Monstrous.
year?
Monstrous.
yeah.
Monstrous got me back into reading comics just because the dialogue is amazing, the storyline is amazing, the world building in that is all through dialogue, and there's never
I'm gonna
real...
blow up Mario's spot here. It's because he had such a wonderful time with the writer Marjorie Liu.
I did have a great time.
They hit it off. They were like best buddies. And she was like, "You have to read it." And he was like, "Of course I'll read it." And he's been talking about Monstrous nonstop since then. So I sort of secretly knew that would be your pick.
I bought all 4 volumes.
I know.
And for the 4th volume, I waited until both Marjorie Liu and Sanaa Lathan were at the table together so I could talk to them both about it, make sure that she remembered me, and then get them to sign that volume 4.
How about you, Kareem? What's your indie pick?
So if I can say this, The Walking Dead ended this year, and Robert Kirkman has done an amazing job just keeping that saga kind of going, and I love the ending. I think it's very poignant and it makes sense to the overall kind of story of The Walking Dead. All the characters kind of get wrapped up, and Rick's story ends in a very interesting way that makes sense towards the larger part of the story. So I think it's the horror book of the decade.
And it was a surprise.
Yes.
They didn't tell anybody that the series was ending. In fact, it was issue 193 was the last. And they had orders for 194 and 195 because they didn't want anybody, even the retailers, to know that it might be gone. All right, so that being said, let's take it back to our spotlight pick. So this is the #1 shout out pick for 2019, best book of the year, and we almost can't say
Big reveal.
like that it's one book because it's actually 3. So it is House of X, Powers of X, X-Men #1. If you guys haven't been following along, Hickman took over X-Men this year, and it has been amazing. It started out with House of X and Powers of X when they came out together. The 2 stories ran alongside each other for a little bit, and it all launched off into this brand new X-Men series that's super exciting. So, Mario, what did you like most about X-Men?
I like that this story, and I just want to make sure that I'm saying the right words. It takes place in different timelines.
Yes.
So there's a current timeline, there's a 10 years from now current timeline, and there's 1,000 years now from about 1,000 years from now timeline.
Say that 3 times fast.
1,000 years from now timeline. 1,000 years from now timeline. 1,000 years from now timeline. I really like that. A lot of people when I was late to this, so a bunch of people told me like, oh, if you pick it up, you'll have no idea what's going on. But if you can understand that it's taking place in different timelines, then you can understand what's going on. I've been an X-Men fan since I was a little kid. When I was young, there were literally 4 comic books in my head. That was X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman. And X-Men has always held a very special place in my heart. Just like with Star Wars, I'll read anything X-Men. If you're gonna reboot it and tell me, look, this is the status quo now, I'm in. I'm with you. Just give me a primer.
How about you, Kareem? What's your favorite thing about X-Men this year?
So my favorite thing is actually the emotions, if I can say that.
Yeah.
So X-Men has been the greatest soap opera in comics. From this back in the day with Stan to Claremont to modern day stuff like Grant Morrison spilled into Joss Whedon, spilled into Warren Ellis and Bendis, and now Hickman has kind of revolutionized and rejuvenated that mythology. So I just love the feeling of it. It really feels like they're a family again.
Yeah.
And all that kind of epic superhero stuff. I love the status quo of this. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I mean, I loved seeing. Obviously, I'm a huge X-Men fan. For a while, there were a lot of X-Men stories going on. We had X-Men Red, X-Men Blue, and X-Men Gold. And then a lot of little stories that were going on. So it's nice that they streamlined it all, brought it all in one place. And now fans really just have to focus on, X-Men moving forward. One place. How could you not complain with that?
I think X-Men is the one title where you can have 7 different titles, but it's still okay. Because there are so many X-Men characters and so many storylines going on.
Some people would disagree with you.
Oh, really?
So a lot of people would disagree with you. But I agree.
I've found out today that my opinions aren't always the opinions held by many.
Yeah. You're about to be kicked out of any Star Wars roundtable that we ever do.
It was stupid. Prove me wrong.
Whatever. All right, guys, that is it for this year.
2019,
for
goodbye.
2019.
Happy
So
New Year.
goodbye to all the amazing comics that we got to experience this year. These guys in particular.
Happy horror days.
Yeah, right? Happy indie days. But enjoy these books, guys. Enjoy the rest of 2019, and we'll see you next year in 2020.